Shalom. Welcome to our School of Biblical and Jewish Studies once again, as we continue our look at understanding the Israel and Palestinian issue. This will be lesson number 3 in our study. What has brought us to this point is we initially looked at the change of the name of the land of Israel to Palestine. That was done as a result of the Second Jewish Revolt, led by Bar Kokhba against Rome, put down in 135 AD with the Emperor Hadrian, at that point then, changing the name of the land of Israel to Palestine. In 1516, the Ottoman Empire, the Turks, would control that area of the world, and they controlled it for 400 years. In World War I, they chose the ultimate losing side of World War I, Germany, the Axis powers, and there were mandates given to Britain and to France to divide up the Ottoman Empire's landmass and establish nation states. All the nation states of the Middle East are relatively young. Britain had the mandate to establish a Jewish state in Palestine. Lord Balfour in 1917 in the English Parliament wrote what is known as the Balfour Declaration establishing that. Well, subsequent events, ultimately in 1919, the League of Nations would adopt that understanding, incorporate it into their plan for the Middle East. In 1920, at the San Remo Conference in Italy, again, the nations of the world understood, and what really is perhaps the foundational document, legal document, on the issue of who should reside and have a nation state in Palestine, was approved by the nations of the world that the Jewish people should have a state, nation, in Palestine. And that is still the law internationally today. Well, in July of 1922, the League of Nations created the British Mandate for Palestine. Now, you can see on the map there in that dark blue section, that light blue or would be the Mediterranean. But you can see the area of Palestine. Oh, you can see the Sea of Galilee, you can see the Dead Sea, but the Jewish state, the land for a Jewish nation, encompassed land west of the Jordan, going to the Mediterranean, but east of the Jordan as well. That was the British mandate. The red is the French mandate. And that British mandate for Palestine, providing an area of 43,000 square miles, or 111,369 square kilometers, for a Jewish state to be established in Palestine. Britain, however, had already demarcated the part of the mandate east of the Jordan River as Trans-Jordan. Now, this was in opposition to the Balfour Declaration. This was in opposition to that 1919 League of Nations decision, as well as that of the 1920 San Remo Conference. But they had already demarcated that everything east of the Jordan would be another Arab state. And it was referred to as Trans-Jordan. Everything across the Jordan, east of the Jordan River, would become a nation state and referred to at that time as Trans-Jordan. The League of Nations would confirm the Mandate for Palestine, which included the Balfour Declaration. And the British government then was committed, quote, to place the country under such political, administrative, and economic conditions as will secure the establishment of the Jewish national home, end of quote. Now, the emphasis was on the establishment of a Jewish national home in Palestine, not on Palestine as a Jewish national home. And the difference is important. The first phrase, the establishment of a Jewish national home in Palestine, was that that entire landmass was, by world agreement, to be a homeland for the Jewish people. Not just that the Jewish people could have a portion of Palestine as a homeland. That was the intent of the Balfour Declaration, a Jewish national home in the entire landmass of Palestine. That was the intent of the League of Nations 1919 decision, the San Remo Conference of 1920. Well, unfortunately, in August 1922, Britain, September 16th, not long after what we just looked at, would go to the League of Nations, and they presented the division of Palestine, which was accepted by the League of Nations with the demarcation of Transjordan. This was discussed at that time in the Churchill White Paper, called the Command White Paper. And if you look at the map now, that Transjordan British Mandate is now red. Previously, it was blue. The blue is still to be the Jewish homeland, but they took some 2/3 of what had been initially promised to the Jewish people as land for a Jewish home, a nation state, and they gave it to Transjordan. So about 32,500 square miles, roughly 76%, over 2/3 of the area of the Jewish national home were given to Transjordan. The Jewish national home now had an area of about a little over 10,000 square miles. Jews were barred from living or owning property east of the Jordan River. Theoretically, they could own or live west of the Jordan River, but they were forbidden to own property or live east of the Jordan River, Transjordan. This violated Article 15 of the British Mandate for Palestine, which said, "No discrimination of any kind shall be made between the inhabitants of Palestine on the ground of race, religion, or language. No person shall be excluded from Palestine on the sole ground of his religious belief." But this was actually what happened on September 16, 1922, when the League of Nations accepted the British recommendation to divide up Palestine, to Transjordan, everything east of the Jordan River belonging to an Arab nation state, and everything west belonging to the Jewish people as a nation state, with the Jewish people not being allowed to own property or even live east of the Jordan. Well, in May of 1939, and we're covering just the highlights of the background, the MacDonald White Paper was published by Britain. Now, this is the beginning of World War II, the Holocaust and the tragedy that would come upon the Jewish people in Europe. And the MacDonald White Paper, published by Britain, among other restrictions, the White Paper restricted Jewish immigration into Palestine to 15,000 per year through 1944, after which no more Jewish people could be let in without Arab consent. Good luck on that. Many British, such as Winston Churchill, condemned this. Well, 15,000 per year was a drop in the bucket, when ultimately we know 6 million Jewish people perished at the hand of the Nazis in Europe. And Britain, which had the mandate over the area of Palestine up until 1948, and part of that mandate was to establish a homeland for the Jewish people in Palestine. Not only at this point had they followed through on this, but they restricted Jewish people from going to Palestine. Tragic. In this paper, this white paper, MacDonald White Paper, it was done to appease the Arab world. It was in direct violation of the Balfour Declaration, the San Remo Conference, and all legal and ethical responsibilities Britain had under these internationally recognized documents. You know, decades ago it was said that the sun never set on the British Empire. It has. Britain is a shell of what it used to be as a world power. I believe it's a result of Britain's actions, or lack of actions, too. Genesis 12:3, I'll bless them that bless thee, and curse them that curse thee. And Britain invited the cursings of God for not following through on that ethical, legal obligation that they had to establish a nation state in Palestine for the Jewish people. 1939 to 1945, the Holocaust. Britain's restrictions on immigration continued through the Holocaust and actually up to the establishment of the nation of Israel in 1948. May 25th, 1946, Transjordan becomes an independent state. The country became the Hashemite kingdom of Transjordan, when the ruling emir was redesignated as king. So in 1946, Transjordan becomes an independent state, a nation recognized by the nations of the world. Britain reaped what she sowed. But it doesn't get any better. We will continue our look at understanding the Israel and Palestinian issue the next time we get together. Shalom.